Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Garzhy, and boy has it been a little while. Sorry about the huge time between uploads. School and work have been crazy as of late, and very hectic, so I just haven't really had time to be making any videos, but coming at you guys now today with a new one. Today we're going to be taking a look at another Garzhy original deck. This one isn't too crazy, but as you can see here, I'm going to be looking at an Aggro Ubass deck. So this time we're going to do something a little different than normal. I'm going to be going into a much more detailed look into this deck so I can show you guys why I made it the way I made it and a lot of the individual components of it. If you don't necessarily want to see all that, I will put a quick link in the description, or that is a quick timestamp so you can just get right into the gameplay and you can see this deck in action. So if you want to check that out, right in the description. But if you want to see some more details about the deck, let's just hop right into that then. So we're just going to be looking through all this and kind of see how I made this, why I made this. So I have always loved Ubass. Even before I had him, I thought he was just a super cool legendary, super cool design, and I wanted him really badly. So once I finally got him, I was so happy to actually be able to make a deck with him. Unfortunately, as you all know, Ubass, especially at low levels, is very underwhelming. He's not that good. So Ubass decks have always been kind of low tier. This deck I've had some decent success with though. Just keep in mind I'm testing all this at about the gold 3 level is about the spot where I've been testing for the most part. Um, so at about this rank is doing pretty well. I imagine that at lower ranks, more aggressive decks are going to be doing pretty well. Or lower leagues, sorry, and obviously at higher leagues as well, especially once you get into like diamond. That's when, if you don't have all your cards level up to like level 5 and have at least level 3 or level 4 legendaries, not going to serve you very well. So just keep that in mind with looking at this deck and all that. But to get a little bit more into the detailed part of this deck, in particular looking at a lot of the individual cards, um, the way I made this deck, you'll notice that there are two, maybe three really big pieces of this. The first one obviously being Ubass. It's hard to have an Ubass deck without him. So he's the obvious main centerpiece of this deck. Just keep in mind, Ubass, yeah, he gets good at level 3. He gets viable at level 3. So at lower levels like this, it's kind of hard to work with him sometimes, but you can still have some decent payoffs. The second really big piece of this deck is actually Snake Eyes. Talk about an off-meta card right now. Snake Eyes, you don't see them very often, but Snake Eyes is a very valuable part of this deck, and the reason is when you're playing an aggro Ubass deck like this, you want to be able to get back to your aggressive cards as quickly as possible. And in the case of this deck, that's Ubass. So you want to be able to cycle back to your Ubass as quickly as possible. So with this, the way I have this set up is generally I like to play Ubass and then the next turn play a Snake Eyes so I can get that cycle going as fast as possible, or maybe even wait one turn so that hopefully with my Snake Eyes, or even maybe the turn after, or when my turn finishes, then I'll be drawing Ubass again so that I can just get constant Ubasses out. Um, so just keep that in mind that Snake Eyes is his purpose isn't necessarily to give you a hand reset if some of this stuff isn't looking too good. That certainly is a function of him, but the main function of Snake Eyes is to get you your Ubass back. And then the last big, kind of big piece of this deck is Mirrors. Um, since Mirrors gives you a random unit type for the unit he shuffles into your deck, it synergizes with Ubass really well, especially since Ubass's type is just a hero. That does count as another type for Ubass, because now he actually does not count himself. He will not count himself as a hero when he's dealing damage, and I learned that the hard way. So now with Mirrors, not only does his hero type count for Ubass's ability, but also what he shuffles in can potentially give you even more stuff in this deck that will let you um, synergize with that ability. So looking at some of the other cards here, as you can see up here, this is definitely an aggro deck. So a lot of these cards are very aggressively minded cards. Green Prototypes and Summon Militia being some of the most aggressive cards in the deck, actually. Um, just to get stats out on the board for really cheap. Um, Gifted Recruits and Lawless Herd also just really essential for early game aggro. Fel Flares is good, mostly for the control aspect, actually. One thing that I've noticed with this deck as I've been going through, and you can tell by the 3 here, this is my 3rd iteration of this deck. So I've gone through a few changes with it. I've noticed that this deck lacks in control for the most part. Um, the way you play this deck is mostly really aggressive, but obviously there's a time to defend. And Fel Flares is basically what lets you do that, along with some of those other relatively high strength to mana ratio cards like Gifted Recruits, and we'll be looking at Westwind Sailors as well. Um, Shady Ghoul is up next. I actually put that in because it's a pretty aggressive card in a way. Obviously, it only has 1 strength, so it can't do a ton for you right when you play it. But that on death effect is what makes it really sticky. You can have that, and your opponent doesn't necessarily want to pop it because, well, you're going to get an even bigger strength unit out right afterward. So, Shady Ghoul is there mostly to give your board stickiness and to make it so you can keep your aggressive push going, even if all your units die off. Well, now this on death effect is going to go, and you still have board presence. So it's there for that reason, and the 2 movement is really nice to be able to get up onto the board. Western Sailor is just a solid card, really good to have. Good strength to mana ratio. Draconic Roamers. This is actually my most recent addition to this deck, and this is kind of one of the controversial parts of this deck, at least for me. The reason I put Draconic Roamers in is because I noticed that it's hard to build board presence with this deck. Shady Ghoul helps you do that, and cards like Lawless Herd and Summon Militia help you do that as well. Originally, I had Dreadfawns in here to fill this role, but what I noticed is that Dreadfawns, I oftentimes just didn't want to play them. It didn't fit the situation, fit a lot of situations very well, and while they did build a good board, it didn't help me as much as I would hope it would. Whereas Draconic Roamers, they can have immediate impact, and they can help you build a board by just getting stuff out, which is really what you need, to be able to get decent board presence, and they can even help you advance too, which is always super nice. So I put them in for that reason. Obviously, the higher level you can get them, the better. At level 1, frankly, they're really bad. So once you get them at least level 3, and even then they're pretty bad. Level 4 is when they start to get good. That's going to be when you really want to have these in. Last card to go over then is Mischiefs. This is actually one I'm actually pretty iffy on as well. The reason I initially added it to the deck is because of the direct chip damage, which goes really well to Ubass because you're trying to just whittle your opponent down as quickly as possible with an aggro deck. So my reasoning was, well, Mischiefs is good for chip damage. Put him in, get the chip going. The only problem is they have a really low strength to mana ratio. I mean, it's 1, as opposed to, let's just say, Gifted Recruits, which at least at level 4 is a 2. 2 strength to mana ratio, and Westwind Sailors is pretty good at that. Pretty good as well. Whereas Mischiefs are really lacking. Once you get them to level 4, so they can start dealing 2 damage to enemy base, then they're really good, but I'm also not there yet. So I'm just kind of sitting here and suffering at this point, but yeah, so they're really good for that reason, just getting that extra chip damage. But just keep in mind, they do have that pretty low strength to cost ratio, so it's maybe worth replacing. So that's pretty much the whole deck and how it all interacts together and why I added the things I added. Just keep in mind, though, that this isn't a concrete deck list. The biggest thing in Stormbound is current level. So, I mean, a level 2 common can oftentimes outplay a level 1 rare, just because the way the leveling process is. So ultimately, if you have cards that, let's just say you don't have a level 3 or 4 Draconic Roamers, well, don't add them to the deck. Find something else that fits the role well. Ultimately, I added these to build board presence. So if you can have something else that's able to do that, or even something else that you're noticing the deck lacks, try to fill in that little niche and try to get a card that works there, that works well with your collection, the cards you have leveled. Because ultimately, that's what really matters, is having good, highly leveled cards they're able to perform well in whatever situation you need to perform in. So yeah, that was a pretty in-depth analysis of this deck, and I think we're ready to hop into a game. So let's get ready to show this deck in action. Well, that's an interesting idea to keep. And that's something I definitely want dead. Yeah, I don't really need it right now. I was hoping to draw that. Okay. That was a really good interaction for me, though. And I'm glad it went here, too. That gives me a good rest system. Holy crap, a level 4? Wow, that is scary. Okay. I'm thinking I'll do these. I want to get my mirrors train rolling. And that just counters that. Boom. I mean, it is a really slow board for a 5 mana, for starting out on the 5 mana turn here. Well, for, going through the 5 mana turn. It is a little slow, but ooh, that sucks. My stuff is really decently leveled. Thinking I won't play this. And I will play these two. And then this goes here. Well, why wouldn't it? Here to go here, here. I will definitely want this in my front line. And honestly, either of these locations, or these two locations have merit to them, I think. I'm thinking this actually. Yeah, screw it. For another day. That looks alright. Right. Oh no. So sad. Alright, that's looking like a really good Fel Flare. Am I looking at a Fel Flare mirrors here? Definitely don't want that. Yeah, oh, that? Oh, wow, yeah. Look at that. Alright. There it is, folks. He's definitely able to kill all that off, so I want to start building up another push here. And yeah. Hopefully like right here. Okay, that works. Because yeah, that's really easy to kill off, so I'm not really investing in that right now. What I am thinking though is since I have these two very nicely positioned right here, I could easily do a construct like right relative to these two, like right here. Hold on. That's a level 3 Elof? Wow. Okay. Alright. Keep Snake Eyes but not play him. So I'm thinking I could put a construct here. Or a construct here. So the thought is, I go construct here, Shady Ghoul here. If I put Ubass here, it's then getting 1, 2, 3, 4 different unit types. Hopefully enough, like at least one goes to phase, or goes to Aloth, so that then I can kill it off with Ubass. I like that. Okay, not what I was going for, but I mean it works. Gives me strength. It keeps my strength on the board. Right? Not what I was intending, but works. Yeah, I'll definitely want to Snake Eyes this turn, even though these are pretty decent cards. I just want to get my cycle going. Especially if I can draw some of those tokens. Because I already have like 3 of them in the deck right now. Well, I just played these, so the odds of drawing those are pretty low, but I have 2 I could reasonably get here. Okay. Are you serious? his turn. Wow. That's a bit of a yikes right there. There. I'm thinking I might just use this straight for the chip damage. Yeah. It's here. Yep, start the cycle. And look at that, I already have Ubass back. Looking really viable once these go forward, right here. That's looking really good. And I don't need another undead, so I could just put a Fel Flares down just for the additional damage. Wow. That's a level 3 Siren, wow. Oh my gosh, Siren. What a card. Unfortunately, I still have lethal. Hey, it's a good card. Wow. Alright. Well done. Oh my gosh, another mirrors. Alright, so I want to guarantee my damage. And I also want to show off. Alright, there it is. 1, 2, 3. Straight to face. Oh no! Whoops. That's only 2. Whoops, yep, they're both heroes. Whoops. Oh, that's embarrassing. I should have kept my mischiefs. Whoops. It's okay, I have Shady Cool. And I have a replace Fel Flares. Well, he could theoretically kill these. And if he does, then I can move here, here, bam. Alright, that's still lethal. It's okay. Ooh, unlucky. Oh, well, I suppose there's no other eventuality for that, but there we go. Ubass working his magic. There we go. I'd say that was a pretty decent game. Pretty good. So yeah, that's the deck. It's a fun one to play. It certainly has its challenges. I went through a few games, just playing through where I lost just because of a lack of control, not being able to keep up with like some big threats, stuff like that. But when you're able to snowball in the early game, that's where this deck really shines. And that's where honestly a lot of aggro decks shine, is being able to just snowball in the early game and then just don't let your opponent have a chance to recover, is really where decks like this do well. And this one is certainly able to do that, as the gameplay just showed. So yeah, this is the, I mean, the major deck. These two cards being really the key focal points. Mirrors helping out with that as well. Then just a lot of other supporting aggressive cards. But ultimately, as I had mentioned in the whole detailed analysis part of it, ultimately this deck is just kind of an archetype. You can put in whatever you really need to in order to make it good for you. Yeah, you know, if you don't have mirrors, hey, there's definitely other cards that can work. Harvester of Souls is one I actually really considered putting in here, because it's a pretty decent card to be able to have, to get even more unit types. So ultimately, you can mix and match with whatever you want to put in it. Yeah, this is the basic deck itself. Hope you guys enjoyed seeing that in some gameplay. So just a few closing things coming out of this. First, if you guys liked seeing that more in-depth analysis of the deck, please let me know. I'll definitely keep that in mind then for future videos. If you guys liked seeing that level of looking into each card and why I put it in there, that kind of thing. Otherwise, easy to skip right over it if it's not necessarily what you guys want to be seeing. Otherwise, I am still planning on doing at least one more video highlighting some custom content from the community. This next video I will be putting out is actually one that I made a little while ago, so keep your eyes peeled for that video. I'll certainly be announcing it on the Discord when I put it out. But If you guys have any other content that you guys want me to highlight, anything cool that you made that you'd like me to make a video about, just let me know. Again, I'll put my Discord information in the description, and I'll definitely be sure to follow up with you about anything. Yeah, please give me all your comments, thoughts, feedback, concerns, questions, anything you got in the comments, or message me through Discord. I read everything, I swear. I love hearing what you guys have to say about all this content. So um, that brings this video to a wrap. So have a great rest of your day, and thank you for watching.